the Mermaid Inn, which is situated in East Sussex. The Mermaid Inn is said to be haunted by many different ghosts. The inn itself dates back to the 12th century. Just like the Golden Fleece Inn, rooms are also available in the Mermaid Inn, and it's in these rooms that paying customers have reported some scary stuff. But before I tell you about the encounters, I should first give you a little bit of history about the Mermaid Inn. In the 1700s, the surrounding area was ruled by a 600-man strong gang called the Hawkhurst Gang, and it's said that the men actually seized the inn and made it the base of operations for smuggling. Now, I give you this information because it's quite important before we talk about Room 17, where even chambermaids will not venture into alone. Room 17, also known as the Kingsmill Room, named after second in command of the smuggling group belonging to the Hawkhurst Gang. This is a room said to be haunted by the wife of Hawkhurst Gang's founder, a Mr. George Gray. Her favourite haunting spot seems to be a rocking chair which sits at the bottom of the bed and rocks back and forth. There is actually a warning in Room 17 which reads, "The Kingsmill Room is said to be haunted by the ghost of a woman alleged to be the wife of the Hawkhurst Gang founder, George Gray. She supposedly haunts the rocking chair in the room. Rest assured that you will have a peaceful night. But when you hear those floorboards creaking... ... And that's it. The rest is left to the imagination." Another guest recalls his partner sitting in the chair, which I presume is the rocking chair, for a photograph, and feeling the sensation of being pushed as she instantly went cold. On later inspection of the photograph, both were shocked to discover strange orbs floating all around the room. The pub owner did remove the chair for a short period of time, but it did not seem to help. Guests still reported seeing the phantom lady standing at the foot of their bed as they slept in the dead of night. Another guest complained about being woken up at 3:30 AM, the witching hour I might add, by someone or something rattling the door violently. And a similar report tells of a woman sitting at her dressing table when the door suddenly flew open of its own accord and smashed into the wall. No one could be seen on the other side. Another guest apparently awoke at 2:15 in Room 16 to witness two ghostly male apparitions dressed in 16th century clothing having a brutal sword fight right there in the room, and the swords could be heard clashing metal against metal. One of the ghosts lost the sword fight and was killed, then fell backwards and disappeared into the wall. But I have heard another version of this story, where guests have witnessed the ghost who won dragged the body towards the wall, and threw the dead corpse down the set of stairs that can be seen on the other side of the wall. Now, once again, this to me seems like a classic residual haunting, like a recording of a tragic event that actually happened in the past and is somehow replayed from time to time. On one particular morning, the owner of the inn awoke to find two guests asleep downstairs in the reception area. When she awoke them, they told her that they had been in their room 10, in bed when the apparition of a man just simply walked through the wall into their room and proceeded to walk across the room and straight through the opposite wall, all the while scowling at the couple and leaving a horrid feeling in the air. The couple said they were so scared by this, there was no way that they would stay in that room 1 second longer, and decided to sleep in the reception, not wanting to bother the owner at the late hour. They left that day but refused to return to the room to pack their belongings, instead asking the owner to pack their bags for them. Another couple reported seeing a ghostly family, a mother, father and child, walk through room 1 and vanish into the wall whilst they were in bed. A grey lady has also been seen in room 1 sitting in a chair just staring into the fireplace. Guests have claimed that before they went to bed they had folded their clothing up and placed it on the chair before they slept, and when they awoke they found that their clothes were soaking wet, with no explanation. On another occasion, a guest was awoken in the middle of the night by a ghostly vision of a man sitting at the edge of her bed who would not leave. The lady fled her room and slept in the adjoining room with her son. And another spirit of an old woman has been seen walking through rooms and momentarily will stop at the foot of the bed and stare at the guest before proceeding out of the room. This may or may not be the same ghostly apparition of the Grey Lady from room 1. Now, as I was researching the Mermaid Inn, I decided to contact the owners of the haunted pub, asking for any more information they could possibly share that I might not be able to find on the internet. And I was so pleased with what they told me. They provided me with some information that we've already gone through, but also some great written accounts left behind from the guests staying or visiting the Mermaid Inn. So to finish the episode, I'm going to read to you some of the chilling reports that the guests have left after their time spent in this very haunted pub. The first one is from actress Kiki Kendrick and her husband Robin. In December 1993, we had booked 4 nights in the Elizabethan bedchamber. It was our first ever visit to Rye. We knew nothing about the mermaid's ghosts, or that it had even been haunted. On our first night, after a couple of drinks in the bar, we retired to our room at about midnight. Around 4 AM, suddenly, and for no reason, we both sat upright in bed. There was an eerie presence. The warm, toasty room had suddenly turned strangely cold, and we could hear a fight going on in the corner of the room, by the fireplace. There were huffs and puffs and sounds of clashing knives. We could see shapes moving as if looking through opaque glass. They fought violently. It was very scary. The next evening, we told the barman, and he produced an old newspaper article about ghosts in the Elizabethan bedchamber that had been written by 2 journalists who had stayed there 6 months earlier. It read word for word as we had seen it. The second night, the same thing happened, but only I saw it. In the intervening years, we have stayed in the same room, but have never seen such happenings again. And the next one was taken in December 2000. On the evening before our wedding, in the corridor from the bar to reception, my brother-in-law was walking towards me. I did not realise it was him until he spoke my name. His normally round and full face was like a skull, cheekbones and eyes sunken, etc. At our wedding the next day, he looked his usual self. 3 months later, he suddenly died of liver failure. Before he died, he lost so much weight, he looked the same as the figure I had seen walking towards me in the corridor 3 months earlier. And the next one evening, about 20 years ago, we were dining with friends in the restaurant, seated at the table in the corner by the window. John, my friend, had his back to the window. My wife suddenly said to him, "John, stretch out your hand into the corner of the room." She placed his hand into the mist and said it was just like putting his hand into a freezer. A moment later, the mist had disappeared and the area felt warm again. And the next one reads, my wife and I were staying in the Elizabethan bedchamber during 1996-1997. One evening, around 6 PM, my wife was sitting at the dressing table when suddenly the door to the room flew open by itself. No one was there when we went to investigate, but there was a chill hanging in the doorway. The next one, on New Year's Day 1998, my wife and I were waiting to pay our room bill in reception with 2 other couples. Suddenly, with a startled glance, the receptionist looked up, focusing on a point just behind us. Then we felt something brush past us, but there was nothing there. The other 2 couples also felt it. And that's it, there you have it. And I don't know about you, but I definitely want to visit the Mermaid Inn. It's something, I don't know whether I'd find it scary, sleeping in the rooms, or more interesting, or I don't know, maybe a little bit of both. But it's something I definitely want to do.